trying to get some sunshine at the moment. Hoping some sunshine will come out, but there's big finger columns of cloud moving in very predictable ways, which seems to be keeping me under shade at the moment while places around me get sunshine. So today I want to talk a little bit about, I think her name is Lily Phillips, the girl who seems to have got famous, the fucking OnlyFans e-thought cam girl who seems to have got famous for having sex with 100 guys in a day as some kind of stunt, in which she was followed by a documentarian who heard that she wanted to do this and wanted to film a documentary about it as it was happening. Not actually in the room with, well, in the same house with the guys fucking her, but not in the room with her as it was happening. So you don't see much. It's like a very PG, very child-friendly, if you can imagine that, documentary. They censor everything. They censor, like, the word butthole and stuff. They censor the tamest shit. And they blur faces and all this. So it's ridiculously censored, and it's on YouTube, so you can watch it if you want. I've watched it. But first, I was on Twitter. I want to call it Twitter. I know it's called fucking X now or whatever. Fuck Elon Musk. I was on Twitter, and one of my Twittery friends posted as a meme, I guess, in response to something else, like trying to make a meme joke out of it, the face of this pretty girl with very red eyes in a yellowy kind of lit place. You know, when someone's posting a meme of something, they have often it's a dank meme, so it's very downgraded quality, and you're meant to identify the pic of something and add meaning to it yourself, like the woman who interviewed Jordan Peterson on, I think, Channel 4 News, and she was like, "So you're saying?" like 18 times during the TV interview. And any time anyone posts her face now with like a purple background and her kind of looking up, and sometimes in combination with "so you're saying," people are meant to read into that what they know about the news story. Unfortunately, I didn't have the context of this girl with red eyes that the Twitter dude was posting. I was like, what is this? I should get the reference, shouldn't I? But I don't know what this is. And he had to explain to me that this is like some girl who got famous for fucking 100 guys. And I was like, fucking 100 guys? What do you mean? Like porn stars? Like, I must have seen like thousands of porn stars who fuck like more than 100 guys in their lifetime. And he's like, no, apparently this is 100 guys in a day. And I'm still convinced that that has happened loads of times before. I don't think she's broken any records at all, to be honest. I think this is a publicity thing. Apparently it got into the newspapers after the documentary was made, or at least it got into the online versions of the newspapers. I don't know if it got into like the MSM's actual paper print newspapers or not. I'd have to check that, because I don't look at newspapers other than when I'm packaging them up to be thrown out at the end of a night work. Then I kind of see the covers of them against my will, I should say. So I think this is kind of a fame circus type thing. It's merely like the fact that she's pretty is one thing, prettiness privilege, plus she said she's gonna fuck 100 guys in a day, plus this guy, I can't remember the guy's name. He's a very attractive guy, and he seems like the sort of guy who wouldn't have had sex in his entire life. He seems kind of like this trad Catholic. He's got a bit of a Louis Theroux style of presenting, where he's like walking around nervously, asking questions, seeming like the innocent one who's never even seen a thing in his life before. It's kind of that sort of thing. I wouldn't be surprised if he was coming out going, I'm like a trad Catholic guy just trying to poke my head into this world to see what it's like. He's like roaming around the documentary innocently going, what? This is weird. Why do you do this? What's that? No, I've never seen this before. What? This is a strange way of living. And he gets invited to a flat. And the first thing you see in the documentary, he gets invited to a flat. And he's like, okay, could you make me I'll have a cup of tea if you don't mind. She's like, I don't know. She doesn't seem to know how to make a cup of tea at all. Like, she's never done that in her life. So she's dipping into his like more normal world, and she doesn't know how to do it. She kind of dumped the tea bag in the tea after she added everything, and she was like, this is gonna taste shit because I don't really make tea for people. that was a funny way to start. And yeah, so this documentarian, tall, blonde, cute boy is following around this. She is attractive, blonde girl. She's like an upper class Londoner. She says she left college, I think, or left university, or she got like, I think she got a university degree or something, but then she just didn't use it for anything. I mean, kind of like me, I mean, I kind of used my degree for something like this sort of thing, but I didn't use my degree for a career or anything. So I don't know what she got a degree in. I can't remember what that was. As soon as she got out of uni, apparently she slept around in uni, as apparently a lot of people do. I mean, that wasn't my experience of uni. I'm sure that was lots of other people's experience of uni, the whole partying and fucking everything that moves lifestyle. Drinking and clubbing and that wasn't my kind of thing. And she said she got out of university, I think it was, and went, oh, I could just do camgirling now. I liked fucking around in university. I've heard you could make a lot of money by putting no effort into a non-job, like starting up an OnlyFans account. So I did that instead, and I started making ridiculous amounts of money just by like getting my boobs out, wanking off on camera, and fucking guys. You know, the funny thing is that most OnlyFans girls, I wouldn't even class as real sex workers because they don't have sex with their fans ever. So this Lily Phillips I would class as an actual prostitute, not just like an OnlyFans girl. I'd say she's actual. I don't think sex work is real work, but if you're going to call something sex worker, you'd call it a prostitute, like a girl who actually has sex with people physically in real space, meat space, which she did. Whereas most OnlyFans people, they maintain this weird boundary where they're just like teasing their rich simps into paying them just to show pictures and show videos of them jacking off, or do live streams or whatever. Oh, you pay this amount of money, you can get more content from me. Oh, it can feel like a real relationship more, sort of thing. But yeah, sort of creds to this girl for not going down that route and actually having physical sex. I suppose that's something I would say is a plus. Oh, we're actually getting sunshine at last. Incredible. So, I suppose to get into this, there's so much to explain. I gotta make a point about, this is the OnlyFans camgirl subject. These are my thoughts on camgirl sites and OnlyFans, and like, you know, they're like Chatterbait, and there's loads of different websites that you can go on where there's just thousands and thousands of girls. They range from teenage to young adults. I don't think older adults do it. It's hardly ever guys, but I think there is a section where gay guys do it. I don't think many people are paying for those because of the way things are, gender-wise. And the point of these camgirl sites is that, you know, sex sells. So there's a lot of horny young men out there, and this is to cater to the rich ones of those, basically. I mean, if you're a horny young man and you're poor, you can watch a limited amount of shit from these people, but they're generally trying to milk their rich fans, so they have to find their rich fans, these girls, and then when they've lured them in, you know, they ask for money and gifts and buy me something on my Amazon wish list and pay me a bunch of money per month, or pay me a lump sum payment, and you can have access to my more private photos and videos where I'm doing more explicit things than if you were freeloading, you get in to see. So if you're freeloading, I suppose you get to see them in a bra or whatever, dancing around and stuff, or talking on a live stream about what they're doing. And then if you're paying a bunch of money, then you see them jacking off on cam and, you know, getting naked and stuff. And then if you pay even more money, they're like, oh, I'm going to pretend to lure you into a physical date, but it'll never actually happen, sort of thing. And this is a very damaging relationship. A very damaging pseudo-relationship. It's not even a real relationship, and that's part of the point of it. It is a certain type of person in the world that is definitely not all people, called a simp, and a certain type of woman who's definitely not all women in the world, called an e-girl or an e-thought or a cam girl, who's not really a real prostitute, because normally, as I say, they don't have sex physically. It's just this kind of lure and free money. And the cam girls get into it. I'm just going to call them cam girls or ethos. We'll call the men ones simps. The cam girls get into it because they are lazy, because they can't work, because often they're pretty, because they realize, hey, if I just exploit my body, I can get loads of free cash, huge amounts of free cash from certain types of men for nothing, for doing essentially nothing. I mean, how easy is it you get a PC, you get a webcam, you're on the internet, which some people think is like a human right to be on the internet, so they're trying to make sure everyone has the internet. So phones and everything, you could just have a phone. I guess the phone does live streaming now. It's got a camera and links onto the internet. So they stick that on a tripod or whatever, and they take their clothes off and they wank off in front of a camera. And hey, if they can string people along and keep this going, they get loads of money for doing nothing. Nothing. Like, no effort is exerted. I don't want to hear anyone saying these people fucking exert effort or do work, because they don't do any work. This is not work at all. It's a terrible social manipulation that comes with our modern age that did not exist in my time when I was a teenager, and it's a fairly new thing. Can't tell what date it came around in. Must have come around in the late 2000s, I'd say. 2007, something like. It seems like it came around like 2007 or 2008 or something. That's what it seems like to me. It's probably going on before that in some way, where it was just like something porn stars did that was quite rare, but now it's just blown up and it's like everywhere, to the point where there are probably so many people. If you go out on the street and walk amongst people on the street and there are girls there, probably there's a fair fraction of those girls who actually have like an OnlyFans site, and they're getting money from doing no work. It's free money basically for no effort on the cam girls side, and they can string this out to the point where if they find enough rich simps who fall for it, the fake relationship thing, they can end up having enough money to buy a flat of their own, buy a car, you know, buy all these rich dresses, go on holiday all the time from no work. This is easy stuff for anyone. If anyone's got the looks, and if you're a young girl and you've got even the slightest bit of looks and you do this, because of these types of people and this dichotomy, you will just get free money for nothing, and I think that's wrong. Anyway, that's the cam girl side of it. Then you've got the simp side of it. These are rich men usually. As I say, the poor men don't get very far, and they don't really contribute to the problem as a result. So you've got a flotilla of moderately to very rich men who are alone in their lives normally. I don't know how many of them are married. If they're married, then they're clearly being disloyal to their wives at home. They're not getting what they need sexually from their wives. So, you know, if you're gonna marry someone, make sure you've got the sexual side of your life as well as the love side of your life, because if you're lacking love and you've got loads of sex, game over. If you're lacking sex and you've got a load of love, game over. So you have to have both to keep that sort of thing going. If you're stuck in that relationship and it's not got one or the other, then leave. A lot of these guys stay in the relationship and don't leave. So they're married, but they're only getting one portion of it. Usually they're not getting the sex. That's one type of simp. Another type of simp, I guess, is the alone kind, who has probably figured out by now that money can't buy relationships. They've probably got rich and tried to use their riches to get relationships off girls, and then they've bumped into things like feminism and realized, oh, like, these girls don't actually even want me for my money these days. A lot of girls in the world still do want guys for their money, but a lot of girls don't want guys for their money. They want to become a girl boss or whatever, make their own money that they can do their own thing with. Probably because they've realized in the past that they've used sugar daddies or whatever to get their money, and they realize that when it's that way around and they don't have their own money, they get kind of controlled by the rich sugar daddy. So they think they're getting into that relationship for the guy who's got loads of money, the old guy with the, you know, the mansion or whatever, who's gonna treat them by giving them loads of money, and they can manipulate him and hijack his credit card for loads of things. And a lot of times that doesn't work out that way, so they realize, like in a feministy way, that if they make their own money, then they can do what they want with that money, and it's coming from them. So as a byproduct of that, now we're in the present. Later on from that era, I think there's a lot of rich guys who are alone who are suddenly realizing that women don't want to be with them for their money, and that money can't buy love, and maybe they want love, but they don't have love, they don't know how to get love, they've got loads of money, and they think that, oh, here's a way that I can spend loads of money and get something that's like love, but it's not like love. It's putting aside the Lily Phillips thing, because she's a slightly different phenomenon. The OnlyFans girls, you know, they string guys along, and, you know, if you pay this amount of money, you can see me naked. Cool. If you pay this amount of money, you can have an exclusive Skype chat with me. Cool. And the way the cam girls act is like, they're very friendly and kind and flirty and stuff, but it's not genuine. It's disingenuous. They are lying about this. They're like creating a character persona to put on with these guys who pay them the most money to entice them into a fake relationship. So it's not a genuine relationship. They're not getting into a relationship with their highest payers on these camgirl sites and OnlyFans sites. I say OnlyFans sites because I think there's more than one kind of site that does this. I think there's other sites. Was it fans.ly? Fansly, I think, is another one. So there's more than one kind of OnlyFans hybrid. Maybe the website takes a cut, so they're getting rich off this too somehow. That's why I assume there's more than one site trying to cater to this. And yeah, so the cam girl strings a rich guy along, and it's a fake relationship. The guy is constantly strung along like, oh, do you love me? Yeah, I love you. That sort of thing. You know, it's a fake, a lie that the cam girl is in love with their highest payer. It's clearly because their highest payer provides them with money for doing the bare minimum, for not working. And, you know, eventually the cam girl gets their own house and cars and everything. They're like, oh, thank you, much gratitude, you've been a great supporter of mine. Yes, I love you, I totally love you. Yeah, that's true. Oh, okay, do you want to meet up? No, not maybe in the future. Not really. We might meet up if you pay me £1 million. Is that sort of thing is going on, essentially. It's just a horrible pseudo relationship thing. Like, I would never go on OnlyFans myself. I'd never, like, I mean, not as the cam girls. Like, are there cam boys? There probably are some sort of male gay guys on OnlyFans. So I'm not gonna do that, obviously. I don't know if there's a market for that. But yeah, I would never pay money to go on OnlyFans to get a girl to like me via paying for it, because, you know, it's such a modern phenomenon. It's such a damaging non-relationship, and it speaks to the weakness of those rich men and the inability to work, and the laziness and the manipulative evilness of the women who partake in it. And also how they, as soon as they hear about it, oh, there's this thing around that you can just get free money from. They're like, oh, okay, I'll do that then. What do I have to do? Take clothes off in front of the camera, wank off, and get like $5,000. Cool, let's go. Or you could do engineering, or you could become a doctor, or you... No, those sound hard. How much do you get for them? Well, nowhere near as much as OnlyFans. Okay, not going to bother then. Yeah, but you're helping people. You might be building bridges and fixing the world. Oh yeah, it sounds morally fulfilling and anything. Is it easy? No. How much does it pay? Not as much as OnlyFans. Okay, not going to do it. It's that kind of thing is going on, you know. And that, yeah, part of the reason that happens is because of government and its regulations and bullshit existing. And another part of why that happens is because the pseudo relationship exists. You know, there are simps and there are e-girls. There are people inclined to do this sort of thing. They're not me, and they might not be you. Hopefully they're not you. I don't know what you're doing watching this, if you're a simp or a cam girl. This is I don't agree with what you're doing at all. I think you should stop. I think it's damaging, I think it's evil, It's manipulative as fuck. You should know by now, I think you're either lazy or weak by doing that mentally. Got some lovely sunshine at last. Oh, that condensated windows here and there. Yeah, so that's basically what I think about that whole bullshit phenomenon. I would never get involved in that in any way because it's just disgusting and pointless, and I believe in real relationships. I like 20th century old style love, coupling, monogamous, between a man and a woman, or between a guy and a guy, but mainly between men and women is the natural way. And all these modern phenomena are just kind of evil to me. I don't like them one bit. I don't think they should have got started. I don't think they should exist now. I don't think these people, if they had a brain, the simps, I think there needs to be a simp revolution where all these rich men realize, look, this is bullshit. You're not getting anything from this. Just stop. Move on. There's something else out there. But they just think like this is, because of what feminism has done to love and everything, this is the way to get love, but you're not getting love. But they think this is the way to get it. This is the only way to get it, because I can no longer ask a girl out on the street. I can no longer ask her out in a public place like an airport or a train station, or I can no longer compliment a girl. I can no longer greet a girl because they might turn out to be a feminist and go, racist, misogynist, transphobe, Islamophobe, out of nowhere. So they're obviously put off from love, and obviously the getting loads of money thing isn't working. So what have they got left? And maybe they think they're going to get a marriage out of the OnlyFans girl. Maybe they think they're competing with other men, and because they got the most money, they are the best competitors in this scenario, and so they will get the girl, but they don't get the girl because the girl's just toying with them to get into their wallet, and then to go separate, run off with their money. So yeah, that's what I think about the e-girls and camgirls phenomenon. Lily Phillips, I would say real prostitute, not just OnlyFans thing, but she has an OnlyFans and it came out of the social media phenomenon. Like, she's able to contact her followers. She makes thousands every time she does something on her OnlyFans. She's brought it to the physical world, which most of them are unable to do, and she has this resource pool. She was selecting from her subscribers the ones that could provide her with an STD sexual health test, so they didn't have sexually transmitted infections or diseases. So apparently, like, you could only qualify to join in the you will get to be one of the 100 guys fucked in a day thing if you posted a photo of a sexual health test. I guess they'd be doxing themselves because they'd be showing their name and stuff on the form. But the documentarian guy who was following her just said, well, at one point, like, loads of men were cancelling, and she was just like, oh, we got to get more guys in before the day because the day's coming up in like 3 days from now or something, so we'll just get more guys in from the subscriber list faster to replace the guys who've cancelled. And he was like, well, I'm a bit worried at this point because now that she's getting people in as a rush job to replace the ones who've cancelled, these ones probably don't have the sexual health test. They're just getting in anyway, so they're probably giving her sexual diseases by this point because she's in a rush to get replacements. And yeah, I don't know, I guess loads of guys cancelled because you get cold feet, or they just realised, do I really want to be fucking a girl who's also fucked 100 other guys? I reckon they're pulling out because they got nervous, like, I don't want to come because maybe it's like a Fed trap or something. Maybe if I come here I'll get captured by some sort of sexual trafficking policeman or something. Maybe it's that, or they get nervous about their performance on the day or how they're going to do, or the situation weirds them out as it gets nearer the time. It's like when you're meeting someone, you get a little bit more worried nearer the time, like, are they going to flake on me? Are they going to fuck me over? Am I going to find something out about this person that I didn't know about them when I met them online or something? So I reckon like a lot of that went through a bunch of their heads, and apparently there were like scores of cancellations just before the actual day, which is why she rushed to replace them. And then for the ones who did stay on, the guys who did come to fuck her, so she got like 200 condoms, which I guess is 2 condoms per guy, just in case. And right after the event, the floor was just littered with tissues and condoms. You would have thought that after she fucked a guy, she would at least pick the condoms and tissues and stuff off the floor and bin them. But no, she just kind of left them scattered out on the floor, like where the next guy would come in and stand to fuck her. It's like, okay, you're just kind of rubbing it in to the guys that if they're 50th in the line to fuck her, then 50 guys have just fucked her before you. And imagine being the 85th or the 99th guy to fuck her. You're just like, I am getting a girl who has just been ran through and cummed on and bruised and everything by 99 other guys, and the floor is just a sea of condoms and tissues because she wouldn't throw them away. I know you don't have time to clean up after, because each guy had got like 5 minutes. That was what it was. It was like one day, 24 hours or something, 5 minutes per guy. She said she was going to have a lunch break in between, but then she realized she was going over time because she didn't set the timer for each guy right, so she skipped out on her own lunch break. So she's just doing this an entire, I don't think it was 24 hours, I think it was like 12 hours, so it was like daylight hours. The whole thing is just, I don't know, it's not shocking to me because I know it's happening all the time. I think a lot of the conservatives are shocked, like, oh my god, we didn't know this was happening. And all the normies reading the mainstream newspaper articles are like, oh my god, wow, this is a new record, this has never happened before, this is surprising. And I'm just like, this is not surprising. This happens all the time. And it's just kind of hilarious. And yeah, I was just like watching the documentary and going, this is just yet another one. This is yet another girl who does this. I've seen that many girls do this. And I wasn't shocked, I just found it funny. I found the documentarian guy was cute because he was just so innocent, and he's not bad looking, to be honest, as well. And he's just like bumbling along going, oh, so you're gonna have sex with 100 guys? Have you thought about this? Isn't this gonna feel bad? Aren't you ruining your life? And he just conducted himself like he was a complete outsider to the situation, and that was very endearing. I suppose that's how you kind of got into it. Also, I think she came from a rich Londoner background anyway. She was in London doing this thing, and she'd got a really posh multi-floor apartment, Airbnb they call them. It's like when a rich person sort of rents out their house, but they're not renting it out. They're sort of giving it as a hotel, so someone can stay in it. I'm not going to say like a B&B, because those are like managed and run from the inside, but this is just like people giving their apartments out. I was also thinking during the whole thing, does the Airbnb flat owner who's renting this out to her know that she's taken this Airbnb for the night so that she can fuck 100 guys? I bet they weren't informed that that's what was going on in their home. I bet she just booked it out, yeah, paid the money, okay, this is mine now to do with what I want, and I'm gonna fuck 100 guys in it, and then it gets returned to the Airbnb owner at the end of the night, and they're like, what the fuck? Why does it smell like this in here? Why is the bin full of 200 condoms and loads of tissue? And apparently after she fucked all those guys, like the cameraman for the documentarian team went into the room, and he just like gagged. He went like, it smells so bad in here, like, and the documentarian guy was like, that's our cameraman, he's not good with smells. It's just like, oh my god. It's like the meme of like, imagine the smell, what some people say on Twitter when people have an odd gathering, shall we say, or it's a bunch of sweaty people in a room or something. And yeah, so she kicks out the documentarian guy, fucks the 100 guys, and then he gets to come in at the end of the night. Oh, firstly, on the street, he manages to corner a couple of the guys who've fucked her and ask them for street interviews, and some of the guys like coming in to meet her and fuck her from like Eastern Europe, and then some of them are just like nervous wrecks trying to talk to them and saying that if my dad ever found out, he'd kick me out of the house, sort of thing. So he did a couple street interviews with the guys who fucked her, and then he gets let into the house at the end of the day to interview her after she's done the event. And that's where the screenshot for the meme comes from, like her eyes are all completely red, And he's like, why are your eyes red? And she's like, well, I had a rule that none of the guys should come anywhere near my eyes on my face. It didn't really work out. And he's like, oh, right, did they abuse that rule? And she's like, no, I think it was just an accident. So apparently she tried not to get like the cum of hundreds of men on her face, and she failed. So you just imagine that, especially if some of them didn't have the STD tests. You just got the fluid secretions of a good portion of those 100 guys in your eye, and there's no way you're going to avoid getting an infection. Even if they had the STD test, it's just like 100 different people, and you don't know what their level of hygiene is. She's just like, oh, just get my fans in. I've got all these subscribers. A lot of them are paying me money. I'll just get like 100 of them in. And then if some of them pull out, I'll replace them. So I make sure I get to 100 in a day. And it's like, you're not really thinking about where these guys come from, what their level of hygiene is, what they smell like, what they do with their life, how they treat their body, what foods they eat, you know. So in that way, it's very self-damaging. You're choosing to expose your body to a lot of strange things in a very short space of time, and probably a lot of different bacteria from a lot of different people. Like, why would you do this? And we could easily chain on to the conversation about polygamy versus monogamy. I mean, these aren't relationships. And yeah, he interviews her in the house after she's had her event. And I think what most hit me about that interview, apart from her like breaking down and crying because of the awkwardness of being asked about what she's done by the documentarian, the thing that stood out the most is when she said something like, I only remembered the faces of like 5 guys. How many guys did she say? I only remembered the faces of a small portion of guys. Like, I only remembered the encounters. Everything else was a blur, and you become an absolute robot while you're fucking them. You try and make them feel at ease. You try and be kind to them. You ask them what they want, how they want to fuck you, and everything. And she felt sad that some of them felt like they didn't get the 5 minutes they were offered, whereas other ones, they ran overtime because she didn't press the stopwatch for their timer at the right time, so they actually got more than the 5 minutes they were allotted. So some got more, some got less, and they felt shortchanged, like, I've come all this way, I didn't get what I want. And she said she felt bad about that, like not giving all the men the full experience or satisfaction of her and doing stuff to her or doing whatever they wanted with her for 5 minutes. So yeah, she felt bad about, I think that's a hint of her wanting to treat men well, but I think overall she hates men, and this isn't about treating men well. She said at one point she was a feminist to the guy, which, you know, that just automatically makes you my enemy. I don't know, a lot of OnlyFans girls say they're not feminists. A lot of them say they are. I can believe it either way, to be honest. In the past, Sargon has said that some of these OnlyFans models are like capitalists because they're making money. Like, was the girl, there's an e-girl who's quite famous. I can't remember her name. Not Pokimane, the other one. The one who's responsible for that ahegao face, which is like where they roll their eyes up and stick their tongue out in a certain way, and then loads of people copy it. I can't remember her name. Anyway, she's a famous e-girl with this stupid expression face that she got popular. And she got popular for selling her bath water to gamers, like her used bath water bottled to gamers. And yeah, also the Lily Phillips girl from this 100 Guys documentary, she said something like she bottled something of hers, some bodily fluid, and sold it to her fans. I can't remember what she said, like sweat or bath water or spit. I think it was spit, actually. It was like a bottle. I sold a bottle of spit to my fans, and they paid for it. And the documentarian guy was like, what? Sorry? Could you repeat yourself there? You what? That cracked me up. But yeah, she's a feminist, so in principle, the thing she's doing, she hates men. She showed like the inkling of, I guess, liking men, just the tiniest inkling of liking men with her guilt about not giving them enough time or satisfaction. But I don't think that's enough to show that she likes men, to be honest. Yeah, and the thing that stood out to me the most, I got off subject there, sorry, tangent hopping. The thing that stood out to me the most after that debrief was how she said she couldn't remember their faces. She couldn't remember the encounters. She just ran through, or had run through her, 100 guys. And I can't remember what the count was of how many she said she remembered, but she didn't remember many of them. So only certain ones stood out to her. And now she said that on the documentary, her fans who fucked her will see that. And I think some of them will go, oh, you know, maybe I'm one of the 6 guys who she remembered that day. So that makes me feel extra good and I'll keep paying her money and stuff. I can imagine that fucking happening. But to me, it speaks to, like, you know, polygamy versus monogamy argument. Like, you can't even do this with friends. You can't give of yourself and memorize and be close to more than, I'm going to say more than 40 people to begin with, because 40 people, during uni I realised that 40 is the number of people in a room that I can remember or know something about, and then if it reaches 41, goes up to 100 or something, I start just losing track and not knowing people, like not knowing identities of people, not knowing what they stand for, what they think about, or not knowing at least something about them, or being able to remember their face. You know, once it goes over 40, there's no chance of me remembering you. So that's just friendships, dude. Relationships wise, me personally, I'm very monogamous. I believe that polygamy is bad, to be honest. You shouldn't have a relationship with more than one person at a time. I just think that's wrong. You can't share a person with someone else when you're that close. The whole point of the relationship, compared to like friendships, you got friendships, you got relationships. The relationship, you have sex, the closest person in your life apart from your best friend, but you have that sexual element, you have the affection as well, the cuddles and things, you have the ability to get married to them and have kids. That's the difference between your best friend and your partner, your relationship partner in life, who hopefully you want to keep around for your whole life. You know, you want to pick someone you love, and hopefully they love you too, and you want to stick around for as long as you can, at the very least 7 years, I would say. That's the ideal, that's how it should be. And you know, if you want to get with someone else, you have to drop the previous one first, you know. There's that line in Mission Impossible 2 that I think rings quite true. I don't know, it's probably a saying from somewhere else. The villain in Mission Impossible 2, he says, like, women, mate, like monkeys they are. Can't let go of one branch until they've... Oh, what was it?
One can't hold neither responsible for our actions. You know, women, mate. Like monkeys they are. Won't let go of one branch till they get a grip on the next.
Can't let go of one branch until they've grabbed onto the next, I think it is. If I find the clip, I'll insert it here. It's Dougray Scott, the villain's line in Mission Impossible 2. But he's right, like, he's talking about, like, how people act like monkeys swinging from tree to tree in relationships. And it's when you're having an affair. Sorry, there's a bird of prey who's just landed right in front of me. I'm gonna get this. It's a beautiful buzzard. I don't have my big cam, so I can't zoom on him today. Yeah, it's a bit of a funny line from a film that a lot of people don't take very seriously, but I like. But he's got a point. Like, there are people it doesn't have to be women either. There are people in relationships who are not willing to just go monogamous and just love one guy or one girl. They'd rather, like, have 2 guys. It's like I was watching the Hunger Games series the other day, and that Katniss, I was thinking, okay, it's coming at some point she's gonna have to choose between these 2 guys, and then they kind of make it that she chooses at the end, but she doesn't really choose because the other guy's still in her life. I was like, where's the big breakup thing? Where's the thing where they go like, okay, she can't love both of these guys, she has to at some point pick one, and she never really picks. Like, she never breaks up with one of them. He just kind of goes to the city, and she's still in love with him. Whereas she has kids with the other one. Like, it's never like, there's never any breakup scene. There's never sorting out of that problem, that love triangle, in which she chooses one. So it's like it's kind of a pro-polygamy film, because I have to assume that that guy still comes round to her house, even though she's had kids and is married to the other guy, you know? That's not my sort of thing, you know? You have to choose one guy. And I've been in situations, like, in real life. I've been in a fucking real life love triangle bullshit thing. And I'm just like, will you just pick one of us, please? Pick one of us. Pick him or pick me. Which one is it? You know, to the girl. Yeah, I hate that sort of thing. It's not right. You should just be with one person. If you like, if you feel like you're in love with two guys, no, you gotta choose one. And it's not about don't be greedy. It's about, like, you can't love multiple people at the same time and be in a relationship with both of them at the same time. You can't do that. You can't split loyalties that much. You can do it with friends, but you can't do it with affection and sex and all that. Can't be done. This is going to be quite a big video because I haven't even discussed the fallout after the Lily Phillips documentary came out and people were reacting to it. Alright, let's get into a little bit of the aftermath. So this documentary aired, it's absolutely everywhere. Obviously I bumped into it from a meme, so a bunch of people had seen it. And then it started doing the rounds, getting super popular with mainly, okay, some of the normies saw it, but mainly the conservatives. The tradcons. The hardcore conservatives. I dread to think what fucking Michael Knowles has said about it, who is one of my political enemies, let's say, on the conservative side. But yeah, V, who is not, well, it's hard to say what V is these days. I saw a video from V talking about it. I don't know if I've seen a video of Dankula talking about it. I feel like he might talk about it. I saw a video of Sargon talking about it, and I saw a video of his Lotus Eaters crew talking about it. And I'm sure I saw a video of one more people, but I saw it like when I was looking through the videos on the subject, I saw in the right-hand bar, you know, where you get recommended videos, just a string of videos, like lots of different related videos talking about this girl. So there are tons of viewpoints out there. I think most of them are the same. Most of them don't like it, but there's some very strange things going on surrounding this. Like, as I say, it's not new to me. I've seen that there are porn stars who fuck 100 girls in a day all the time. What did I say? There are porn star girls, say it right, who fucked 100 guys in a day all the time. And it's been going on for a while. But because this phenomenon is in the public eye, probably due to the documentary and the mainstream media coverage, which people are unfortunately obsessed with still, they shouldn't even watch that shit. It's blown up, and the conservative grifter commentators and all that are talking about it. The most influential is obviously Sargon of Akkad and his Lotus Eaters gang, and they were saying some insane shit about it that just reinforces my thought that the left is the right and that they are the same. Because his reaction to this video was like, this is something new, we should all be this is like a landmark moment in history, and we should all be responding to this with some poignant this is a poignant moment, this should be blowing up, and we should all use this as a turning point for our history. And what that should be is that consent doesn't matter anymore because consent is a kind of morality that we shouldn't be agreeing with. And this is like the new conservative talking point, which is just to turn into a fucking communist. And he's like talking about becoming interventionist and violating bodily autonomy and violating freedom and saying that consent shouldn't happen, which as an anarchist libertarian, I'm just like, what the fuck? You can't throw away voluntarism, you can't throw away consent and call yourself any kind of freedom advocate. And like, this is just like, the conservatives are just getting further and further and further away from anti-communism for a start. Like, freedom, gun rights, liberty, stopping government control your life. The pro-segregationists, between races, between women, the central authority, central planning, authoritarian in the extreme. Everything the communists, I should say the socialists, because communist is the unachievable state of equality that all socialists want but never will get without massacring thousands of people. Everything that the conservatives are coming out with these days is what the socialists come out with. It's the same fucking thing. And they're just, I don't know if they're blind or what, they just want us to believe that it's not somehow, when it really obviously is. And it just amazes me that these used to be the people who were on my side fighting for freedom principles, and then at some point after lockdown they just went insane and went to become their own enemies and are trying to maintain that they're not. It's just kind of shocking to me. I don't know. I don't know whether I find it funny or intensely disturbing or a mixture of both. But yeah, at some point this thing happened. I think maybe the Conservatives were always like this, but a contingent of the anti-SJWs splintered off. So we were all about freedom for a while there, and then we split into several different factions because we had to. We were individualists. At some point we had to split off. But this faction with Sargon went off towards the monarchists and conservative side, and went off influencing the conservatives that already existed, who then hijacked all his ideas for their own, went off and did things with MAGA and Trump and all that, and abortion rights and paedophiles and whatever else they're obsessed with, children and family and all this stuff, trans bathrooms, what is it, drag queens, all the stuff that conservatives talk about was splintered off of Sargon and then fed back into him, and then fed away from him, and then fed back into him, all the way over there. Whereas a bunch of the anti-SJWs went on my side to become libertarians and anarchists, and then another bunch of the anti-SJWs went off like Shoe on Head and Chris Reagan's side and just became fucking socialist commies. And it's so weird to see, and I am amazed that it happened, because I thought we'd all kind of, even if we split up, I thought we'd all kind of go the same similar route after the split, but we really didn't, did we? It's so strange. And I think V, when I watched his video, he had a slightly better take, which was like he's not a neo-Puritan, and to some extent he thinks people should do what they want, but that there's obviously something wrong here that people don't like. So I think V's take was slightly better, although there's definitely some things in there I disagree with. I saw some anarchists and libertarians like me saying it's a consent issue, you know, it is her choice, she should do what she wants with her body, even if it fucks her over, which is kind of my view. My view is like, hey, if you're a drug addict and you're addicted to drugs and it fucks you over, fine, be a drug addict. You don't need an intervention. You can fuck yourself over with your drugs. It's your choice. Hopefully you know what drugs are and that they are fucking with your body and destroying you. Go ahead. You know, that's the kind of libertarian anarchist mindset. Consent is a real thing. You know, she consented. This Lily Phillips prostitute consented to have sex with 100 guys. She wanted it. I don't know how informed consent it was. I don't know if she properly knew what she was getting herself into, but she is an adult. She's not a child or anything. So she consented to have sex with 100 guys, and the 100 guys who did come in and didn't cancel on her and did have the sex also consented to do that. So it's, you know, choice and consent and voluntarism was preserved, even though she fucked up. She did something bad that fucked up her body. That's not everyone's point of view, though. It's subjective. It's my point of view that she fucked herself over. And I think there was a point in the documentary where the documentarian guy asked her whether she knew about something, which is like whether you can get HIV AIDS via oral sex, like swallowing cum or something, and he said like, yes you can, and she was like, oh, I never heard of that before. I didn't know that was true. Oh well. She didn't, that just gives me a clue that she didn't 100% know what she was doing. Like some of the things she could have known more about before she went into the situation. And like when they began the day of the event, like men started arriving, and I think the documentarian guy went like, she doesn't have a plan for how she's going to, she hasn't organised this, so she doesn't have a plan for like whether they're going to stay in the waiting room and wait till someone's done. Like, she had bodyguards, and the bodyguards were her defence, but at one point she sent her 2 bodyguards out away from the flat to get her donuts and drinks. I'm like, what are you doing? What are these people for? And she apparently employed like 9 people as part of her team, so she's earning so much money that she can pay the wages of 9 people. And I don't know what these are for. One's obviously her assistant woman for the day, and there's 2 bodyguards. Apparently there are a bunch of other people. Maybe there's like a web designer. I can't think what those other people would be, like what their jobs would be. But she has the money to pay the wages of 9 people from her OnlyFans nonsense. That is insane. So I think in some ways she didn't know enough to give consent to what she was doing, but that's informed consent. I mean, she still consented. She still chose this, and I think she knew enough about what she was doing to her body to know what it's like. Because also during that documentary, and no one brought this up, she had already, I think, done an event in the past where she had sex with 37 guys in a day, which is basically just kind of half off the mark of like 100 guys. Like, she's nearly 50 guys in a day, like 37 guys, you know, that's near enough to 50, and no one brought it up. Like, no one said like, oh, okay, so this has already happened once. You've already fucked like a huge amount of guys in a day before. What was that like? Like, no, that's already happened, so let's talk about that. How was your organisation on that event? What did you do? Like, no one meant, like, it was just mentioned and then glossed over. Like, the documentarian completely ignored it, and so did everyone else, it seems like. And now after the event's over, you know, she was got in the debrief, she got all teary-eyed, and it like, everyone made it out that she was regretful that she did it and she didn't want to do it again, and that it fucked with her so much that it was a bad experience that she hated. No, not the case, because straight after the documentary ended, she was like, I've now announced that I'm going to do next year 1,000 guys fucking me in a day. Which I had to try and work out the maths for. I don't know. I think that would have to be 24 hours, and yeah, I have no idea. And that would, I mean, obviously that's just going to fuck her up in the same way, but that's 10 times as many as she did in that day. So everything you thought about that documentary, but even worse. But again, she's up for it. She consented to it. She chose to do this. She made the announcement, I'm going to fuck 1,000 people in a day, now that I've fucked 100 people in a day. So it's like, this is her consent. This is her choice. And yeah, so there are some anarchists I talked to on Twitter who are like, well, she did consent to it, so you can't really stop her or confiscate her rights. If she's consented to a bad thing, in our view, sure, yeah, we think it's a bad thing, but you can't stop bad people taking bad things. You shouldn't. Morally, you should not stop bad people taking or doing bad things to themselves. You should just let that happen and hopefully inform them so they're, you know, they can give informed consent in the future, so they know what they're getting themselves into. And if they're 100% sure they want to, like, I don't know, cut their arm off or something, then yeah, you know, go ahead, let them. It's their body, their choice. You know, like during the whole vaccine nonsense, our body, our choice, my body, my choice. And even what the feminists were saying before then, my body, my choice. That is, unfortunately, that is something that the feminists get right, is my body, my choice. But they're applying it to abortions and things, which the conservatives don't like. They don't like choice. I apply it to forced vaccines and stuff, which the feminists and the leftists don't like. You know, you shouldn't have someone force an injection of a chemical into you if you say no to them, completely rejecting the idea, because that would be rape. It doesn't matter whether it's sexual or not, that is rape. It's also rape for someone to send you fucking auto updates to your computer when you say you opt out of it, and you don't want that to happen, by the way. Fucking Microsoft. I mean, it doesn't sound like what in the past people would define as rape, but if you're using the terms correctly, it is rape. you do not want something to happen to you and someone else forces it upon you against your will. That is rape. But yeah, she wanted it. She got it. That's the anarchist point of view on the thing for you, or it should be for all libertarians and anarchists. You know, this is how you just see it. And yet the conservatives are trying to manufacture this new line of thinking that says consent is evil morality. We should no longer have consent. Consent is wrong. It is morally wrong for consent-based morality to exist. This is a brand new thing that the Conservatives have come out with that essentially just makes them even more close to communists. Although they are anyway, because they're fucking statists and they want taxation and welfare and all this, which is theft. Anyway, yeah. So I don't know if there's much more to say on that point, other than the response to it. It's a funny documentary. It's hilarious to me. This shit happens anyway. It's bad relationship wise. It shouldn't happen, but there are enough people in the world who aren't simps and who aren't camgirls and prostitutes that I'm not overly bothered by it. The way forward for me is the way things were going with the right kind of people in the past, which is monogamy, 20th century style love, devoting yourself to one person at a time. If you don't like that person, and if you feel like you're in love with a new person, you have to leave the old person. You know, you can't just hold on to both branches at the same time in order to swing forward. You need to let go of the old person before you chain on to trying to be with a new person. And in an ideal world, you don't try and have 100,000 partners in your life. You just have like enough to figure out who's the one you're more likely to stay with out of the ones you tried to pick right before you got with them. So like 4 or 5, something like. Or if you can get with someone when you're very young, like, and they're your first or second choice, and you manage to stay with them through your entire life until you're old, then you've, I mean, high score. Maximum cred to you from me. You've done life right. You've managed to pick well early on and keep it going for as long as possible. That is like the ideal scenario of love, I think. Find the right person early on out of like 5 people. Stay with one of them for as long as possible through your life. Get married, have kids. Because life isn't in the experimenting and the choosing and the messing around with thousands of guys sort of thing. Life is in the what can you do with the person who you're meant to be with and who you love and care for. Like, can you go through life, you know, life shouldn't be about that constant trying to find someone. Life should be about finding someone as soon as possible and then just doing everything else while you're with them. Anyway, I'm out. Catch you later, folks.